Here is an interesting little fact about Christianity that you may or may not have known. The angels there have a hierarchy, that's right. They're ranked in order from lowest to highest based on divinity. At the bottom of the ladder rests everyday angels, whispers in the twilight air, guiding mortals with tender care. One leg above angels are archangels, wings ablaze in celestial light, heralding destinies through day and night. Preceding archangels are principalities, silent rules in the cosmic embrace, guiding nations with celestial grace. Following them are powers, warriors in armor's bright, guiding realms from shadow's plight. And rounding out the top 5 are virtues, weavers in the cosmic dance, bestowing blessings in ethereal trance. Just ahead are dominions, leaders in the heavens' might, guiding realms in cosmic flight. Antecedent to them are thrones, wheels within the cosmic spin, bearing justice with a celestial grin. Forerunning them are cherubim, they who hath the eyes that gleam, keepers of knowledge in the cosmic scheme. And finally, seated at the zenith of priorities are the seraphim, beings of wings with radiant flame, in celestial choir they sing God's name. Seraphs are the highest ranked angels as they're thought to have the most divinity. But why am I telling you this? Is it because I'm a Christian looking to sing God's praise, hoping one day I may find his gaze? I'll stop with the rhyming. No, it's because Genshin seemingly has its very own seraphim. In all of theology, there are several interesting facts about seraphs, and they are as such. They hath 6 wings. They are often singing for the divine, and their faces are often covered out of respect for God. In Genshin Impact, one character bears a striking resemblance with the description of seraphs. Columbina has a 6th-winged headpiece. Her face is covered and she is shown singing. So what's her deal? Who is damsellette really, and why is she so dangerous that 2 of the most arrogant dudes in Teyvat put their egos aside and warned us of her? Columbina is rank 3 of the fatui harbingers, meaning she has strength equal to that of the gods. She's been described as oblivious and innocent, yet extremely dangerous, with even Child himself noting something is off with her. Her constellation is most likely that of the crying dove, which is interesting for a number of different reasons, as in the Bible, a dove flew onto Noah's Ark carrying an olive branch to signal the end of the Great Flood. Ever since, the dove has become a symbol of peace and harmony. However, this dove is different. This dove is crying, weeping even, as if to display sadness over something. This just about wraps up all the official knowledge we have regarding Columbina, so let's jump into the theories about who she is, starting with everyone's favorite it seems. Columbina is the shade of death. As we mentioned earlier, Columbina closely resembles a seraphim, indicating that she might be closest to divinity in Teyvat, similarly to how seraphs are closest with divinity in the Bible. Being closest with divinity in Teyvat would represent a closeness with Celestia, or the heavenly principles, of which the shades can lay claim to being the highest on the pecking order. Circling back to the image of the dove as her constellation, the book Before Sun and Moon, which tells us Phanes came to Teyvat and created everything, has a section in it called, quote, "When the doves held branches." This feels like a pretty obvious callback to the dove that gave Noah a branch back in the Bible, but maybe I'm just a crazy nigga, who knows? Columbina also looks vastly otherworldly compared to every other character we've seen. She looks like she doesn't belong to any other nation. She looks divine, and in that case, maybe that other world is Celestia. In addition to this, the shades in Teyvat have dominion over one of the artifact types: life, death, time, void, and reason. Death is represented by a feather, of which we see several on Columbina. Furthermore, nearly everything regarding Columbina and the Lazo Trail has to do with the cycle of life. When we first see her, she's singing over the coffin with a smile on her face. Later, she comments that Dottore is looking young, and then asks where the segment in the prime of his life is.
I must say, you're looking very young today, Doctor.
You know very well that I do not take that as a compliment.
So, where's the segment in the prime of his life, then?
Every other Harbinger had their personality displayed in a trailer in a way that fits them. Piero organizes the bunch, Capitano is simply focused on capturing all the Gnosis, Dottore fiddles with a test tube and comments on Scaramouche, who is his experiment. Arlecchino speaks of not wanting to make the children cry, Pulcinello makes a mayoral call to halt work for 12 hours, Sandrone sounds miserable, Pantalone comments on the Northland Bank, and Child states that even he doesn't think they should fight there. Each comment speaks to their character and who they are. Columbina's might be no different, given once again all her comments have to do with life or death. Should she be the shade of death, this would make complete sense. So with that said, I do have a couple of problems with this theory. If Columbina really is the shade of death, how did she come to want to oppose the heavenly principles? What does the crying dove represent, and more importantly, how could it be she's not even the second most powerful person in the room? Well, my friends, I think I may have an answer that could bitch all three of these questions. What if, in addition to being the shade of death, Columbina is the ancestor of the— why the fuck did I just say it like that? What if, in addition to being the shade of death, Columbina is the ancestor of the seelies? There we go. For those unaware, the story of the seelies is a tragic one, but goes as such. The seelies were once a beautiful and wise race who also possessed physical forms. Things were going well until one day the ancestor seelie fell in love with a traveler from afar. They swore an oath to be with one another, witnessed by the Moon Sisters. 30 days later, a disaster struck, and the two lovers fled. Eventually, however, the calamity caught up with them, and their punishment was this. They were to be separated from one another forever, and their memories were to be wiped completely. A most tragic tale, yes, but what if this is Columbina? It could help to explain a few things about her. This could help explain why she's so oblivious and uncaring of things, as her memory has been tampered with. However, someone, most likely the OG swindler Piero, may have been aware of Columbina's history and informed her as such, thus recruiting her to become a harbinger. This could also help to explain the crying dove. In this case, the dove is crying due to having lost a lover. Furthermore, she may have lost some of her power when the calamity struck her, or as punishment from Celestia for her misdoings. Also, she wouldn't be the first shade to make contact with Tivat, given that's pretty much all Esteroth has been doing. One point to add as well is the headpiece she's wearing is identical to that of Zelie Court's. Furthermore, I think after the disaster, we know where Columbina spent most of her time, as in the Adventurer's artifact set, it details the story of a man who is exploring a place where, quote, time doesn't work and the sun doesn't shine. In it, it writes this. As he tore his way recklessly through the foliage, the adventurer tripped on a tree root. When he regained consciousness, he saw a girl so beautiful that he was willing to give up the adventurer's life to be with her. Her appearance was surreal, with a cluster of feathers adorning her hair. Guys, come on. This is literally Scaramouche's description of her.
Let me ask. What should you do if you were to encounter a damsel who is oblivious and innocent at any given time, and unconcerned and unfeeling in any given situation? If it were me, I could at least challenge her to a fight. But if it were you, with your conscience, I would stay away from her.
Coming across a damsel who's oblivious? Plus, bro, it's another feather bitch. And it's in the abyss. Guys, Piero does expeditions in the abyss. This is how he could have found her, guys. If you're still not convinced, this last one will surely do you in. They're both old, man. The Shade of Death is one of the oldest beings in Tivat, so is the Ancestor Seelie. As a matter of fact, the Ancestor Seelie is quite possibly the oldest playable being we could have, given they're much older than even Morax himself. Yeah, that was a solid piece of evidence. So I think Columbina's story might be as such. She's the Shade of Death who one day left Celestia and became the ancestor of the Zelie race. She fell in love with a mysterious traveler from afar, causing a disaster to strike the land and essentially ending the Zelie race. She and her lover fled, but eventually became victims of the disaster, weakening her and causing her to become cursed by losing their memories and be separated forever. Columbina would eventually find herself in the abyss before being found by either the Tsaritsa or the NCAA's best recruiter, Piero. I'm not sure if they knew she was a shade, but one of them certainly knew she was an ancestor of the Zelie race, told her what happened to her in the past, and recruited her to the Fatui. Bada bing bada boom, missed the whole world as I stepped in a room. There we have it, boys. Reconciling all the theories into one grand crack theory. Maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong, who knows? We'll find out in like 8 years. Or maybe she was the traveler from afar.